Alien girl stole food from same human every day, but she didn't know he knew it. Port Callisto's pier. Nine hummed with quiet energy. Floating stalls drifted in the low gravity, their neon signs flickering like stars against the orbital city's dome. Luca Marino stood behind the counter at Marino Subs, wiping it down with a steady hand. Flour dusted his tall frame, catching the warm glow of the shop's lights. The scent of fresh bread and tangy spices filled the air, wrapping him in a familiar comfort. He felt content, grounded in the rhythm of his daily work, a routine that anchored him in this far-flung station. Every Tuesday, at precisely 1:47 p.m., she slipped in. Naira, a small, Etherean girl with lavender skin that shimmered faintly, moved with practiced stealth. Her silver hair bounced as she darted to the counter, eyes scanning the room. Luca watched from the corner of his vision, a spark of amused tolerance warming his chest. She grabbed a sandwich, 2 bags of chips, and a lemonade, her small hands quick but careful. Nervousness clung to her, a sneaky tension in her hurried movements. She tucked the food into her scuffed backpack, then slid a handwritten note under a plate. "Sorry, my mom coughs a lot. We'll pay later," it read, her guilt scrawled in uneven letters. Luca kept his gaze on the counter, pretending not to notice. He had slipped vitamins into the relish earlier, a quiet act of compassion that felt right. His smile stayed soft, but his eyes turned thoughtful, lingering on the note. He didn't judge her. Hunger wasn't a crime. Outside, dock workers leaned against crates, their low voices carrying through the shop's open door. One muttered to his friend, chuckling, "Luca's too soft for Pier 9's grit." Their words held admiration, a quiet respect for his kindness. They called her the Tuesday Phantom, a nickname that spread through the docks like a shared secret. In the stillness of his shop, Luca's thoughts drifted. He had left Earth for Port Callisto years ago, chasing a simple life among the stars. Pier 9, with its rumors and rough edges, wasn't the place for harsh rules. His heart stayed steady, but curiosity stirred. Nira's notes hinted at a story, a mother, sick, struggling. He wanted to know more but wouldn't push. Not yet. Nira clutched her backpack as she slipped out, weaving through the crowds. Relief softened her face, the weight of her haul a small victory. Her light-up shoes flashed bright under the artificial sky, twinkling as it shifted to dusk. Somewhere beyond the shop, Elena's worry lingered, unspoken but heavy in Naira's scribbled words. Her exhaustion, her illness, reached the audience through that note, a quiet tug at the heart without her stepping into the light. The shop's warm lights cast long shadows as Luca locked the door. Subtle worry creased his brow, Nira's mother on his mind. He flipped the sign to closed, the glow of Pier 9's dusk bathing the shop in a soft amber hue. His resolve hardened, a quiet promise to keep helping, to keep watching for the girl with the flashing shoes. Morning came, and Luca was back at it. Alarms buzzed softly, pulling him from sleep. He stretched in the loft above the shop, then descended to the kitchen. Flour dusted his apron anew as he mixed his special relish, blending tomatoes from the station's hydrofarms with orbital probiotics. A practical optimism guided his hands, a hope that his food could do more than fill bellies. The shop opened, and regulars trickled in, their chatter a familiar hum. An old trader, grizzled and grinning, leaned on the counter. "Got that relish, Luca?" Luca spread it thick on a sub, nodding. "Always do." The trader bit in, mumbling, "Hits the spot," as they swapped stories of dock shipments and late freighters. Nira's name stayed unspoken, a quiet pact. Weeks rolled by, each Tuesday the same. Nira sneaked in. Luca looked away. Notes piled in a drawer. "Sorry again. Mom's better some days." Guilt laced every word, but Luca only smiled, amusement flickering. He kept the sandwiches on the counter's edge, easy to grab, his silent gift to her. One evening the door creaked open late. Luca looked up, startled. Elena Vale stumbled in, her face pale with a purplish hue, silver hair dull and limp. She gripped the counter, weary desperation in her eyes. Luca's heart caught, an empathetic spark igniting. He knew that look, displaced enzyme syndrome, common among Etherians in space. You okay? His voice was soft, steady. Elena nodded weakly, her breath shallow. Need a place. Behind her, Naira peeked out, clutching her backpack, shy innocence in her wide eyes. Just visiting, she mumbled, nervous but hopeful. Luca's frame softened, his voice warm. Loft upstairs, it's yours for now. He gestured to the stairs, a generous offer wrapped in calm. Elena's gratitude hesitated, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you, but we'll repay. Guilt lingered, but relief for Naira's safety shone through, a flicker of hope in her tired gaze. They climbed to the loft, its cramped space glowing with Pier 9's lights. Naira's shoes flashed as she set her backpack down, a small sign of budding security. Below, Luca returned to his counter, his heart hopeful but steady. The shop's rhythm held them all, a quiet bond forming in the warmth of the kitchen. The loft above Marino's subs glowed faintly, bathed in the soft flicker of Pier 9's lights. Elena Vale settled onto the narrow bed, her breath still shallow, her purplish skin catching the dim glow. Exhaustion clung to her, but relief softened her eyes as Nira curled up nearby, clutching her scuffed backpack. Luca stood at the foot of the stairs, watching them settle. His heart carried a steady hope, tempered by the practical optimism that had guided him through years on Port Callisto. He nodded to himself, then returned to the kitchen below, the scent of bread lingering like a quiet promise. Morning light filtered through the dome, casting a gentle haze over the shop. Nira bounded down the stairs, her light-up shoes flashing with each step. Her shy innocence had begun to thaw, replaced by a budding security that showed in her small smile. Just visiting, she said, her voice light as she grabbed a stack of napkins to fold. Luca glanced over, his generous warmth breaking into a grin. Sandwiches are on the edge, in case someone gets hungry. His teasing tone eased her, and she giggled, stacking napkins with care. The shop felt alive, its rhythm weaving a bond between them. Luca moved to the counter, mixing his tomato relish with practiced hands. He added a pinch of orbital probiotics, sourced from a local supplier in the station's hydro bays. His movements were steady, driven by a hope that this blend could help Elena's cough. He had seen displaced enzyme syndrome before. Its toll on Etherians was no secret in the colonies. His heart stayed hopeful, but his mind worked fast, calculating ratios, tweaking the recipe. The probiotics fizzed faintly in the mix, a small spark of possibility. Upstairs, Elena stirred, her weary desperation easing as she watched Nira hum below. From her perspective, guilt lingered like a shadow. She had brought Nira to this point, hiding, scraping by. But Luca's kindness, his warm kitchen, offered a safety she hadn't felt in months. Relief washed over her, softening the tight lines of her face. She leaned against the wall, the loft's cramped space feeling less like a cage and more like a haven. Naira's laughter drifted up, a sound that anchored her hope. The shop buzzed with its usual crowd. Dock workers grabbed subs, their chatter filling the air with tales of late freighters and black market deals. Luca served them, his flour-dusted apron a badge of his trade. Relish still the best, Luca, a trader said, biting into a sandwich. Luca nodded, his smile easy but his thoughts on the loft. He kept Naira's visits quiet, a secret shared with the docks. No one mentioned the Tuesday Phantom now, not with Elena here. Naira darted to the counter, her shoes flashing as she helped arrange straws. Her playful engagement lit up the room, her earlier nervousness gone. "Can I make a sandwich?" she asked, eyes wide. Luca chuckled, handing her a small knife. "Start with the bread. Easy does it." Her focus was earnest, her small hands clumsy but determined. Luca watched, his warmth deepening. The kid was growing on him, her innocence a bright spot in the shop's routine. Elena descended the stairs later, her steps slow but steadier. The relish Luca had sent up with breakfast seemed to help. Her cough was softer, less jagged. Fragile hope flickered in her eyes as she met Luca's gaze. "It's better today," she said, her voice low but firm. Luca nodded, his optimism rising. "Good, keep eating the relish. Got a hunch it's more than just tasty." His words were light, but his heart carried weight, a quiet vow to keep them safe. The day rolled on, the shop's rhythm steady. Luca kneaded dough, his hands moving with muscle memory. Naira stayed close, chattering about the docks, her voice bright. "Saw a freighter with blue lights yesterday. Looked like a star." Luca grinned, amused by her wonder. "Blue, huh? Bet it's hauling something fancy." Their banter flowed easy, a natural comfort settling between them. The shop felt fuller, its warmth wrapping around the three of them. Elena sat at a corner table, watching Naira with a mix of pride and lingering guilt. Her perspective shifted, the relief of safety battling her sense of debt. Luca's kindness was a gift, but it stung her pride. She sipped lemonade, the tartness sharp on her tongue. "We'll repay you," she murmured, almost to herself. Luca caught her words, shaking his head. "Get well first, that's enough." His voice was firm, his compassion clear, cutting through her doubt. Night fell, and Pier 9's lights twinkled through the shop's windows. Luca locked up, the click of the bolt loud in the quiet. He glanced at the loft, where Naira's shoes glowed faintly as she slept. Elena sat awake, her silhouette still against the window. Luca's worry returned, softer now, mixed with a growing bond. He climbed to his own bed, the station's hum a lullaby. The Tuesday ritual had changed. Naira wasn't stealing anymore. But something deeper was taking root. Whispers began to spread through Pier 9. Traders at the dock swapped stories, their voices low. "Luca's got folks upstairs now," one said, sipping a drink. "Hope he's not in over his head." Their words carried curiosity, a hint of concern. The Tuesday phantom was old news, but Luca's shop was becoming something more. A haven, a mystery. Luca felt the shift, the eyes on his shop. Tension crept in, slow but steady. He shrugged it off, focusing on the relish, the bread, the girl with the flashing shoes. But the air felt heavier now, the warmth of the shop tested by unseen watchers. He glanced at the drawer of Naira's notes, their scrawled apologies piling up. Something about them nagged at him, a puzzle he couldn't yet see. The air in Marino's subs grew heavier, the warmth of the kitchen tested by a new edge. Luca leaned on the counter, his smile tight as he served a dock worker. The shop's rhythm held, but a subtle tension coiled in his chest. He felt eyes on him, unseen watchers in Pier 9's bustling crowds. The drawer of Naira's notes sat untouched, their scrawled words tugging at his thoughts. He pushed the feeling down, focusing on the bread, the relish, the hum of the station. Deputy Mara Quinn strode through the door, her boots clicking sharp on the floor. Her stern suspicion cut through the shop's cozy glow, her eyes narrowing as she scanned the shelves. "Luca, we need to talk. Missing inventory every Tuesday. Care to explain?" Her voice was crisp, like a blade slicing the air. Luca shrugged, his casual deflection practiced. "Clumsy with stock, I guess." His smile strained, masking the growing unease that prickled his skin. Mara's gaze lingered, unyielding. Behind her, Auditor Flint glided in, its sleek frame humming softly. Lights blinked with mechanical neutrality as it scanned the shop's books, its sensors whirring over ledgers. The robot's presence added an impersonal pressure, cold and precise, that tightening Luca's chest. He kept his hands busy, stacking plates, but his mind raced. Naira crouched behind the counter, her small frame hidden. Her hands trembled as she scribbled a note, fear sharp in her hurried strokes. "Sorry, Mom's still sick," it read, shakier than before. Upstairs, Elena sat on the loft's bed, her cough softer now. Luca's relish probiotic blend had worked, easing the jagged edge of her illness. Fragile hope flickered in her eyes, but caution held her tight. She overheard Mara's voice below, her guarded concern rising. Axiom Biotech controls the enzyme drugs, she had told Luca earlier, her voice low and firm. They'll come for anyone who digs too deep. Her warning echoed in Luca's mind as he faced Mara's questions. Luca's thoughts churned, but he kept his cool. He had seen enough of Port Callisto's underbelly to know how to dodge. Later alone, he pulled out an old communicator from a drawer. Its screen flickered, a relic from his youth. Growing determination pulsed through him as he activated a rescue code, broadcasting a signal across the station's network of 12 orbital hubs. He typed a simple request: affordable medicine for displaced enzyme syndrome. The screen blinked, then lit up with a cryptic reply: the Phantom never sleeps. Luca's brow furrowed, curiosity and puzzlement mixing. What did it mean? Nira peeked out from behind the counter. Her light-up shoes dimmed. Her fear lingered, but she stayed quiet, clutching her backpack. Luca caught her eye, offering a small nod. All good, kid, he murmured, his voice steady to ease her. She nodded back, her small frame relaxing slightly, but the tremble in her hands stayed. From Mara's perspective, the shop felt off. She sensed Luca was hiding something, his easy shrugs, too smooth. Yet as she watched him hand a free sub to a hungry dock kid, her suspicion softened. Reluctant admiration stirred. She saw how Pier 9 leaned on Luca, how his kindness held the dock together. Her duty tugged at her, but so did a growing respect. She left without pushing further, her boots echoing as she stepped into the neon-lit crowds. Elena descended the stairs, her steps steadier. The relish had worked better than expected, her cough now a faint rasp. She met Luca's gaze, her voice low. Be careful. Axiom doesn't like questions. Her concern for Nira was palpable, her eyes flicking to the girl still crouched near the counter. Luca nodded, his tension rising but resolve firm. He wouldn't let them down. The shop's lights dimmed as evening settled, casting long shadows across the floor. Luca locked up. The bolts clicked loud in the quiet. He glanced at the drawer of notes, their mystery gnawing at him. Nira's fear, Mara's suspicion, the strange message. They wove together, pulling him deeper into something he couldn't yet name. He climbed to the loft, the station's hum a steady pulse. Nira slept, her shoes glowing faintly. Elena sat by the window, her silhouette sharp against Pier 9's lights. Outside, dock workers whispered over drinks. Luca's got trouble coming, one muttered, sipping from a dented can. Mara's sniffing around. Their voices carried concern, a quiet loyalty to the man who fed them. The Tuesday Phantom was fading from talk, but Luca's shop was now a beacon, drawing eyes and questions. Luca lay in his bed, the communicator's message replaying in his mind. The Phantom never sleeps. His curiosity burned, mixed with a growing unease. He thought of Nira's notes, their uneven letters piling up. Something was there, hidden in plain sight. He drifted to sleep, the station's E0.8G gravity pulling lightly, but the weight of secrets pressed heavier. Morning broke, and the shop opened again. Luca kneaded dough, his hands moving with muscle memory. Nira helped, her chatter light, but her eyes wary. You think Mara's mad? She asked, stacking cups. Luca shook his head, his voice calm. She's just doing her job. We're fine. His words steadied her, but his own tension lingered, a quiet hum beneath the shop's warmth. Elena joined them, her cough nearly gone. She sipped a lemonade, her hope growing, but guarded. The relish is working, she said, her voice stronger. Luca grinned, his optimism sparking. Told you it's more than tasty. Their banner eased the air, but the weight of Mara's visit hung like a shadow. Luca glanced at the drawer again, the notes calling to him. He didn't know it yet, but they held a key, a cipher waiting to unravel. Luca stood at the counter, the morning light filtering through the shop's windows. He pulled open the drawer, Naira's notes spilling out in a messy pile. His intrigued discovery flared as he spread them across the surface, aligning them by date. The first letters of each line caught his eye, forming a strange sequence. His pulse quickened, fingers tracing the words. "This can't be random," he muttered, brow furrowed. The shop's warmth felt closer now, the air thick with unspoken secrets. Elena watched from the stairs, her strengthening resolve building. She had seen Luca's curiosity grow, the notes a breadcrumb trail she had laid. Nira bounced nearby, her shoes flashing as she stacked plates. "What are you doing, Mr. Luca?" she asked, tilting her head. Luca glanced up, his voice light. "Just reading your apologies, kid." Naira giggled, but Elena's eyes met his, a silent signal. Luca's mind churned, piecing it together. The sequence spelled an address, a hidden spot in Port Callisto's server hub. Shock rippled through him, a mix of awe and betrayal. How had he missed this? Elena stepped forward, her confession vulnerable yet brave. "I'm the Phantom," she said softly, her voice steady. "I hacked Axiom years ago, pulled evidence of their price locks, used your shop as a decoy to hide my trail." Luca's heart wrestled, his jaw set. He had been a pawn, but her bravery shone through. "So the notes—" He trailed off, vowing silently to protect them. Nira's wide-eyed surprise burst out. "My notes? A code?" She blinked and then beamed when Luca ruffled her hair. "You're the best secret agent this shop's ever had." Her delighted pride lightened the mood, her giggle echoing in the kitchen. Elena nodded, her collaborative determination growing. "We go public. The vault holds the proof." Her eyes brightened with purpose, no longer shadowed by hiding. Luca agreed, his resolute planning taking shape. He refined the relish recipe, prepping a demo for the hearing. The coded address burned in his mind, pointing to Axiom's data vault. Nira's innocent humor shone as she marveled at her spy work. "I thought I was just saying sorry nice." Her shoes flashed with excitement, dancing around the counter. Luca chuckled, his betrayal fading into fierce loyalty. The trio sat at the table, maps of Pier 9 spread out. "We hit the vault tonight," Luca said, his voice firm. Elena traced the route, her fingers steady. "Quiet in, quick out." Naira nodded, wide-eyed but eager. The shop's walls seemed to close in, holding their secrets tight. From a trader's perspective, Pier 9 buzzed with rumors. They gathered at a stall, sipping drinks. "Heard Luca's gearing up against Axiom," one whispered, excitement tinged with hope. "Cheaper meds would change everything." Their voices carried a quiet thrill, the docks alive with talk of a showdown. Luca's shop was no longer just a sub-joint, it was ground zero. The evening lights dimmed, casting a soft glow over the shop. Luca locked up, his heart racing with the plan. Nira's notes, now a cipher, lay decoded on the counter. The trio's shared resolve solidified, a tense, hopeful energy filling the air. They slipped out the back door, shadows in the neon haze. The maintenance tunnel loomed ahead, the vault's address guiding them. Luca led, his stealthy adrenaline surging. The tunnel's hum echoed, cool air brushing their skin. Elena followed, her skilled concentration sharp. Nira trailed, her vigilant excitement glowing. "Stay close," Luca whispered. They moved as one, the station's 0.8 G making steps light but hearts heavy. The server hub appeared, a maze of glowing panels. Elena knelt at a console, fingers flying over keys. The vault unlocked with a soft beep, files streaming onto a chip. Nira stood guard, whispering encouragement. "You got this, Mom." Her brave innocence tugged at the quiet, her shoes dimmed to avoid notice. Luca tested the relish on a portable analyzer nearby. The screen lit up, confirming enzyme activation. Hope sparked in his eyes, his focused intensity rising. "It works," he murmured. Elena's empowered relief washed over her as she pulled the last file. Her shoulders relaxed, a weight lifting after years. They slipped back through the tunnel, the chip secure. Mara Quinn trailed far behind, unnoticed, her conflicted curiosity torn. She watched from the shadows, duty and intrigue warring in her steps. Back at the shop, the trio collapsed at the table. Luca's triumphant exhaustion mingled with Elena's relief. The chip held Axiom's truth, locked enzymes, gouged prices. Elena's nurturing warmth emerged as she turned to Nira. Let's make this a game. Codes and puzzles. She taught her basics, turning fear into playful bonding. Nira's eyes lit up, fingers tracing letters. Luca's protective bond deepened, the shop now a rebellion's base. His heart raced with the evidence's weight. He glanced at the loft, Nira yawning as she climbed up. Elena lingered, her hand brushing his. Thank you, she said, her voice soft. Luca nodded, loyalty fierce. The Agorid dome hearing loomed, their plans set. Outside, Pier 9 pulsed with life. Traders toasted quietly, rumors spreading. Luca's got something big. The docks held their breath, hope flickering in the neon. Luca lay awake, the chip hidden safe. The cipher had unlocked more than a vault. It had bound them. He drifted off, the station's hum a steady beat. Tomorrow they would strike, the back door of Marino's subs click shut, swallowed by Pier 9's neon hum. Luca led the way, his stealthy adrenaline a sharp pulse in his veins. The maintenance tunnel stretched ahead, its walls slick with condensation, humming faintly under Port Callisto's 0.8 G gravity. Elena followed close, her skilled concentration etched in the tight line of her jaw. Nira trailed, her vigilant excitement bright despite the dim light. Her light-up shoes dimmed to avoid notice. Stay close, Luca whispered, his voice low but steady. The trio moved as one, shadows slipping through the station's underbelly, the weight of their mission pressing heavy. The tunnel opened into a server hub, a maze of glowing panels and soft whirs. Elena knelt at a console, her fingers flying over keys with practiced precision. Data streams flickered on the screen, Axiom's vault unlocking with a soft beep. Her empowered relief began to surface, a faint exhale as files downloaded to a secure chip. Nira stood guard, her small frame tense but alert, whispering encouragement. You got this, Mom. Her brave innocence cut through the hub's sterile hum, a spark of warmth in the cold tech. Luca stood nearby, his focused intensity sharp as he tested the relish on a portable analyzer. The device hummed, its screen lighting up with confirmation. The enzyme activated, steady and clear. Hope sparked in his eyes, a quiet thrill at the proof. It works, he murmured, glancing at Elena. Her nod was small, but her relief deepened, shoulders relaxing for the first time in years. The chip filled with Axiom secrets, locked enzymes, inflated prices, a monopoly exposed. The vault's data was theirs now. Mara Quinn watched from a shadowed corner, unnoticed, her conflicted curiosity a knot in her chest. She had trailed them from the shop, her steps silent but her heart torn. Duty demanded she report them, but intrigue held her back. Luca's kindness, Elena's resolve, Nira's courage. They tugged at her, challenging her strict code. She stayed hidden, her breath shallow, watching the trio work. From a technician's perspective, the hub felt routine. He glanced at a monitor, noticing odd activity, but shrugged it off as maintenance. His casual ignorance stood stark against the trio's high-stakes mission, the hum of servers masking their quiet rebellion. He turned away, sipping a drink, oblivious to the truth unfolding. The trio slipped back through the tunnel, the chip tucked safe in Elena's coat. Luca's triumphant exhaustion settled in, his legs heavy but his heart light with victory. Elena's relief was palpable, her steps surer as they neared the shop. Nira clutched her backpack, her excitement softening into a tired glow. Did we win? She whispered. Luca ruffled her hair, his voice soft. Not yet, kid, but we're close. Back at Marino's subs, they collapsed at the table, the kitchen's warmth wrapping around them. Luca's protective bond deepened, the shop now a rebellion's heart. He set the analyzer down, its screen still glowing with the relish's success. Elena pulled the chip from her coat, her nurturing warmth emerging as she turned to Nira. "Let's make this a game," she said, her voice gentle. "Codes and puzzles like spies." She traced letters on a napkin, teaching Nira basics. Nira's eyes lit up, fear turning to playful bonding, her fingers mimicking her mother's. Luca watched, his heart racing with the evidence's weight. The chip held Axiom's crimes, the relish a key to cheaper cures. He glanced at the loft, Nira's shoes glowing faintly as she practiced her spy letters. Elena leaned close, her hand brushing his. "We did it," she said, her voice soft but strong. Luca nodded, his loyalty fierce. "Now we take it to the dome." The Agora hearing loomed, their plan a beacon in the dark. Outside, Pier 9 buzzed with whispers. Traders gathered at stalls, their voices low. "Luca's got something on Axiom," one said, hope flickering in his eyes. "Meds might get cheap." The docks thrummed with anticipation, their loyalty to Luca growing. The shop stood as a quiet fortress, its lights a signal of change. Luca locked the door, the bolts click firm. He glanced at the counter, where Nira's decoded notes lay scattered. The cipher had led them here, binding them tighter. Elena's past as the phantom, Nira's innocent code, his own resolve. They were a unit now, unstoppable. He climbed to his bed, the station's hum steady. Sleep came slow, the chip's weight anchoring his thoughts. Morning broke, and the shop stirred. Luca kneaded dough, his hands steady but his mind on the dome. Nira bounded down, her chatter bright. "Can I help at the hearing?" she asked, stacking cups. Luca grinned, his voice calm. "You already did, secret agent." Elena joined them, her cough gone, her strength clear. "We show them the truth tomorrow," she said, her purpose sharp. The shop's warmth held them, a haven against the storm ahead. The Agora Dome loomed over Port Callisto, its glass ceiling catching the artificial stars above. Luca stepped onto the stage, his nervous presentation trembling in his hands. The crowd, thousands strong, filled the vast forum, their murmurs a low hum. He set up the portable analyzer, the relish jar glowing faintly under the lights. His voice caught as he began, explaining the enzyme activation. "This works," he said, hands steady but words tight. The screen blinked, confirming the results, and a ripple of interest passed through the dome. Elena stood beside him, her steady courage a quiet force. She faced the crowd, her silver hair catching the light, no longer dulled by illness. "Axiom Biotech locked the enzyme," she said, her voice clear and unwavering. She held up the chip, its data projected on a massive screen. Files scrolled, exposing price gouging, hidden patents, a monopoly built on suffering. Her words cut deep, releasing a burden she had carried for years. The crowd leaned forward, their breath held. Auditor Flint glided to the stage, his lights blinking with precise verification. "Acrostic chain validated. Probability of forgery 0.01%. Its mechanical voice echoed, a logical satisfaction easing the tension. The crowd murmured louder, a mix of awe and anger. Flint's lights pulsed, almost like a nod, grounding the moment in cold truth. Mara Quinn stood at the dome's edge, her protective resolve firm. "I'm not here for arrests," she announced, her once strict face softened by solidarity. "These people need protection. I'll stand guard." Her words carried weight, shifting her from hunter to ally. The crowd cheered, dock workers' voices rising loudest, their weary hope erupting into roars against Axiom's greed. From their perspective, the dome felt alive, a sea of faces united by Luca's quiet fight and Elena's truth. Nira clung to Luca's hand, her anxious dependence clear in her tight grip. Her light-up shoes were still, her eyes wide at the crowd. "Can I hand out sandwiches after this?" she whispered, her whimsical hope breaking through. Luca smiled, her words grounding him. Sure thing, kid, he murmured, his tension easing. Her innocence lightened the dome's weight, drawing soft chuckles from those nearby. Axiom's PR team scrambled at the back, their polished suits out of place. Their denials faltered, voices cracking as the files overwhelmed. Panic flickered in their eyes, their slick facade crumbling. The crowd's roars grew louder, drowning them out. Luca watched, his tense anticipation lingering. Axiom's shadow still loomed, a faint threat in the applause. He scanned the dome, wary but resolute. Elena pushed forward, her vindicated strength glowing. This chip proves they buried the cure, kept it from us. Her words were sharp, a blade through Axiom's lies. She gestured to Luca's relish demo, now live on the screen, the enzyme activation clear. The crowd roared again, dock workers pounding fists on rails. Their hopes surged, no longer weary but fierce, filling the dome with a raw energy. The authorities, seated high in the glass booths, leaned forward. A vote flashed across their screens. The Amnesty for Transparency law. It passed with a chime, granting leniency to those like Elena, who hacked for truth. Drug prices would drop across 12 orbital colonies, a ripple that could reach 50,000 souls. Elena's strength shone brighter, her burden lifted. She glanced at Luca, a small nod of gratitude. Nira's hopeful whimsy bubbled up again. "So we won?" she asked, tugging Luca's sleeve. He ruffled her hair, his voice soft. "Yeah, kid, we're getting there." The crowd's cheers washed over them, a tide of victory. But Luca's eyes lingered on the PR team, retreating to the shadows. His wariness held, a quiet instinct that the fight wasn't over. The dome's lights dimmed as the hearing closed, the glass ceiling reflecting the station's artificial stars. Luca, Elena, and Nira stepped off the stage, the chip still in Elena's hand. Mara approached, her face warm now. "You did good," she said, her voice low. "I'll keep watch." Luca nodded, his tension easing but not gone. The crowd dispersed, their voices carrying hope to Pier 9's alleys. Back at the shop, the trio sat at the counter, the kitchen's warmth a stark contrast to the dome's grandeur. Luca's heart settled, his bond with Elena and Nira stronger. Elena leaned close, her strength now a quiet glow. "We changed something today," she said, her voice steady. Nira doodled on a napkin, her shoes flashing softly. "Sandwiches tomorrow?" she asked, her whimsy unshaken. Luca chuckled, his resolve firm. "Tuesdays, kid, always." Outside, Pier 9 buzzed louder. Traders gathered, their toasts bolder. "Luca took on Axiom," one said, raising a can. "Meds are gonna drop." Their pride in him echoed through the docks. The shop a beacon now. The station's hum pulsed steady, its 0.8 G gravity pulling light. But Luca felt a heavier pull. The future, the family forming around him. He locked the shop, the bolts click firm. Nira's napkin lay on the counter, a doodle of a sandwich and a star. Elena's hand brushed his, a silent thanks. They climbed to the loft, the chip safe, the relish jar glowing faintly. Sleep came easier now, the dome's victory a warm weight. But Luca's wariness lingered, a quiet whisper of what might come. Morning broke, and the shop stirred. Luca kneaded dough, his hands steady. Nira bounded down, her chatter bright. "We're heroes, right?" she asked, stacking cups. Luca grinned, his voice calm. "Something like that." Elena joined them, her strength clear, her cough gone. "The law's passed," she said, her purpose sharp. "Now we build." The shop's warmth held them, a fortress against the challenges ahead. The kitchen of Marino's subs glowed with soft light, flour dusting the air like a quiet promise. Luca stood at the counter, his apron streaked with tomato stains, his heart open with romantic vulnerability. He turned to Elena, her silver hair catching the warm glow, her face no longer pale. "Marry me," he said, voice soft but steady. the words slipping out in the familiar hum of the shop. Her radiant acceptance sparkled, a bright smile breaking free. Yes, she whispered, her healthy optimism shining through as she leaned closer, her hand finding his. Nira bounded in, her exuberant cheer lighting the room. "You're going to be my dad?" she asked, her light-up shoes flashing wildly as she bounced. Luca grinned, ruffling her hair. "Working on it, kid?" Her joy was infectious, spilling over as he pulled out adoption papers from a drawer. He signed them with a steady hand, his joyful fulfillment settling deep. The shop felt fuller, its warmth wrapping around the three of them like a vow. Outside, Pier 9 buzzed with news. The amnesty for transparency law had passed fully, slashing drug prices across 12 orbital colonies. Luca's relish recipe spread to clinics, a simple blend now saving lives. His heart swelled with purpose, the victory shared with the docks. Traders raised cans and toasts, their celebratory pride echoing through the alleys. "Luca beat Axiom," one said, grinning. "Man's a legend." The shop stood as a beacon, its lights a signal of hope. From Auditor Flint's perspective, the law's impact registered like a clean data stream. Its circuits hummed, lights blinking with a rare mechanical warmth. It logged the price drops, calculating relief for 50,000 residents. The robot's satisfaction pulsed, a quiet nod to the trio's work. It glided through the docks, its presence a subtle affirmation of their truth. Naira's creative enthusiasm bubbled as she scribbled on a napkin, designing a sign for Tuesday giveaways. No one goes hungry," she declared, her pride evident in her careful letters. Luca chuckled, taping the sign to the counter. "Looks official secret agent." Her shoes flashed as she danced, the shop alive with her energy. Elena watched, her optimism growing, her recovery complete. She pulled out a notebook, drafting plans for a school, her heart light with purpose. Elena's strength carried her now, no longer guarded. "We'll teach kids to cook, to code," she said, her voice firm. Luca nodded, his fulfillment deepening. "And keep the relish flowing." Their banter flowed easy, a natural rhythm binding them. Naira piped up, "I'll teach 'em secret notes." Her laughter rang, tying the moment together. The shop's rhythm pulsed steady, its warmth a fortress. Luca kneaded dough, his hands moving with muscle memory. Naira stacked cups, her chatter bright. "We're a family now, right?" she asked, eyes wide. Luca's voice softened, his bond sealed. "Yeah, kid, we are." Elena's hand brushed his, her smile a quiet promise. The adoption papers lay signed, a new chapter written in ink. Outside, the docks thrummed with life. Traders gathered, their toasts louder now. "Luca's shop changed everything," one said, pride in his voice. The station's 0.8 G gravity pulled light, but the weight of their victory felt heavier, grounding them all. The shop's lights glowed through the dusk, a haven turned legacy. Luca locked up, the bolts clicked firm. He glanced at Nira's sign, its bold letters a vow. Elena stood close, her warmth steady. "We did more than win," she said, her voice low. Luca nodded, his heart full. "We built something." They climbed to the loft, Naira's shoes glowing faintly as she slept. Sleep came easy now, the shop's hum a lullaby. Morning broke, and the shop stirred. Luca mixed relish, his hands steady but his mind on the future. Naira bounded down, her enthusiasm undimmed. "Can I hand out sandwiches today?" she asked, stacking plates. Luca grinned, his voice calm. "Tomorrow's Tuesday, big day." Elena joined them, her notebook open, plans for the school taking shape. "We start small," she said, her purpose sharp, "but it'll grow." The docks carried their story, whispers turning to cheers. Luca's shop was no longer just a subjoint, it was a symbol, a spark. The trio worked together, their bond a quiet strength. Nira's sign hung proud, the shop's warmth holding them close. The future waited, bright and uncharted. The Academy of Kitchen and Cipher stood proud on Pier 9, its doors open to the orbital city's hum. Luca moved through the classrooms, his apron a badge of resilience, his proud mentorship shining as he taught cooking to a group of street kids. "Knead the dough like this," he said, his hands steady, guiding small fingers through the motions. The scent of tomato sauce filled the air, blending with the clack of keyboards from the next room. His heart settled in contentment. The shop's legacy now expanded into this space. Elena led her data ethics class nearby, her purposeful leadership a quiet force. She stood at a console, her sustained bravery inspiring the kids in rooms scented with fresh herbs. "Codes protect truth," she explained, her voice firm but warm. A boy nodded, typing a simple cipher. Her silver hair caught the light, no longer shadowed by illness. The academy was her vision, born from their victory, a place where knowledge healed. Naira, now 9, mentored a cluster of younger kids, her confident guidance sparkling. "Secret thank yous go like this," she said, scribbling on a napkin. Her growth from thief to giver shone clear, her light-up shoes flashing as she moved. The kids laughed, mimicking her. Her pride was quiet, but her eyes glowed with it. The Academy's slogan, "Tuesdays, no one goes hungry," hung on the wall, spreading through the docks like a promise. Mara Quinn arrived for her security workshop, her warm pride evident in her relaxed smile. Her once strict face softened as she addressed the class. "Locks and codes keep you safe," she said, demonstrating a simple hack defense. Her redemption was clear, shifting from agent to ally. The kids leaned in, her presence a bridge from their past fight. She glanced at Luca, nodding. "Good work here," she murmured, her voice low. Auditor Flint glided in, its lights blinking with generous humor. It donated a server to the academy, its mechanical voice quipping, "Auditing recipes now. 0 errors." The kids chuckled, its fairness woven into the community. Flint's circuits hummed, a rare warmth in its pulses, logging the academy's growth. It stood as a symbol, cold tech turned friend. Affordable medicine reached 50,000 residents, clinics buzzing with Luca's relish blend. He shared a sandwich with Elena and Nira at dusk, his contented reflection settling deep. The artificial stars twinkled above, the station's dome a quiet canopy. "We did this," he said, voice soft. Elena nodded, her hand on his. Naira bit into her half, her shoes glowing faintly. The moment evoked a warm, unified closure, their bond a steady anchor. Street kids' laughter filled the academy, their hope mirroring Naira's. The clack of keyboards blended with kitchen clatter, a harmony of learning. A girl stirred sauce, another debugged a code. The rooms thrummed with life, the dock's rough edges softened by this haven. Luca, Elena, and Nira sat on the shop's steps, the original Merino subs now part of the academy. The shared sandwich tasted of victory, of family. Nira left a note on the counter inside. "No more stealing, just family, food, and truth." Her symbolic closure tied the threads, her innocence a light. The shop's legacy endured. Luca's resilient kindness, Elena's bravery, and Naira's innocence crafting a citywide tradition. Pier 9 pulsed with it, Tuesdays a day of free meals, ciphers taught with care. The station's 0.8 G gravity pulled light, but their story grounded all. Whispers spread, a quiet ripple of change. They watched the stars, the future open, their hearts full.